Welcome back to the WFT Declassified Podcast. I am your host, LE. Thank you for rocking with us as always. Right about there, you should see a subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that button. Stay locked in. We got a lot of good content coming for you. And if you're listening to us on audio, many props. Shout out to you, my favorite platform of all. Make sure you're locked in there. Be subscribed and keep it moving. We don't have a special guest tonight. I'm lying. We have two special guests tonight. We got our guy Eric in the building. Eric, what's happening?
More of a Velcro shoes kind of special guest, but special nonetheless. Yeah. What's up, everybody?
Nothing wrong with Velcro shoes. Brian, how's it going?
It's going really good. How are you guys doing?
Amazing.
Summer is here. Season is getting closer. I'm
Finally.
getting jacked. Yep, I'm getting stoked.
I saw a video circulating of people celebrating summer solstice at Stonehenge, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, man,
in the
yeah.
UK. Yeah.
Were there any sacrifices? What were they doing?
Get the crystals
no
out.
blood sacrifices. Yeah.
No,
they were just kind of,
yeah, they put on like white linen gowns and dance around with flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Never
So
been
like
to one.
So
Oddly, I've never been invited to a summer solstice party.
You'd be the first person I think that would get invited to something like that, Eric.
You think so, man? I think I'd be a lot of fun.
You could have a DJ at the Stonehenge party.
Yeah, I could break out I could dust off the equipment.
Yeah.
Lay down some sick. I don't know what kind of solstice jams. Probably like I need to find like lute music or something. I don't know. What do they listen to at the solstice jam? I'd have to find
rock.
that out.
Get it?
Hard
rock?
No.
Yeah.
It's gonna be electronica, some like house music or something like that, right?
Come on, guys.
No, it'd be like
made of
Fish.
rocks.
It'd be like Fish or Grateful Dead or something. I don't know what. Yeah, we'll figure it out next year. We'll be ready for the Stonehenge solstice party
Stonehenge
next
Declassified coming next year. Anyway, hey, happy Father's Day to both of you. It's a little belated, but happy Father's Day to you guys and anybody listening who's a father. Happy Father's Day. And if we missed you on Mother's Day, moms, happy Mother's Day to you too. All right.
I'm back at you.
Same to you. Same to you, fellas.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So check it out, man. We are about less than a month away from training camp starting, right? And this is the greatest time of the season because it's hot. Football players are playing football in the summer. There's no real break after this. Once training camp starts, it's coming, right? You're right there because this period right now is the last big break that you have between now and the end of the season. Training camp's coming. Once training camps come, then you got preseason and all that jazz, and then the regular season is here, fellas. We are so close. If you haven't already, make sure you prepare your family for you to be gone every Sunday from now until February. Well, I shouldn't say now, but starting in September. Start that conversation now. Anywho, training camp, a lot to look forward to. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about various position groups over the next few weeks and what their objectives are in training camp in terms of things they need to accomplish, where they need to improve, and how they should look to make the team better. Today, we're going to start with the front seven. Last year, this is probably, and fellas, let me know if you disagree, but in my opinion, this is the most disappointing group on the team last season. You guys agree?
Absolutely.
Underwhelming, yeah, from what we expected, for sure.
Yeah. So I think going into this whole offseason, this is the group with the most to prove. And, this is where it starts training camp, got to get together, hit hard, be ready to play. So general thoughts before we dive into the front seven in terms of like what the defense needs to accomplish at training camp. Eric, I'll start with you.
Well, obviously, the first and foremost is to stay injury-free, especially at positions like linebacker where there's not a ton of depth. Just get out of it healthy. But, I mean, get everybody on the same page and ready for week one because the blown assignments and looking at each other, it's not going to fly again this year. I mean, we got to be ready to play when the first week of the season. You've got on paper, a soft opening, schedule with the first 2 weeks with Jacksonville and Detroit. Those are games that if you come out and look unprepared and lose one of those, it's ridiculous. And it's just going to be a long year. So you got to be ready, get yourself ready to play and stay injury free.
Yeah, I like it. Everything you said right there. Spot on. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things, but I think the main thing is that these guys need to work together and they need to follow the coach's plan, right? Too often we heard in the press conference after the games last year, Rivera mentioning guys doing their own thing, freelancing, not following their technique. Like, there's no place for that. There's a defense, whether you like the defense or not, you need to follow it as coached, as called by the defensive coordinator. When all of those guys are playing together, the defense will play better. But if we've got, two defensive ends doing one thing, two defensive tackles doing another, linebackers doing something else, we're going to look awful. We're going to look like how we looked last year, where it just kind of looked like chaos, guys not knowing what they're doing, and big plays every chance the offense gets. So they all need to be on the same page and moving in the right direction. And I think that will help tremendously in terms of how the defense looks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the two H's here. They have to discover the two H's. The first one is humility, right? Last year we had some egos going into that season, right? Like we were feeling ourselves from the playoff push the year before, and I think we got humbled very early. And that's my second one. Let's be humble. Let's work. Let's be hungry. I got three H's for you. Let's be hungry too, right? Let's rediscover that hunger of what made us perform above expectation 2 years ago. So, all right, let's kick it off. Linebackers, we're going to start there. So, our linebackers going into camp, we have Holcomb, we have Jamin Davis, we have David Mayo. Kaliki Hudson's there, Milo Eifler, Trey Walker, Drew White. I think these are guys. So, I'm going to start with those main guys. Just any one of those guys, Eric, stand out to you with the most to prove at camp amongst the linebackers?
Jamin Davis, obviously, he's got to step up. He was a first round pick last year. We kind of knew that he wasn't going to be, a stud his first year just based on the lack of playing time he always got in college. But he's got a year in the system. He's got a full off season. He apparently got replaced a couple times by like Kaliki Hudson in OTAs, which is not a good sign. So that dude needs to step up and play. But really, they just need to bring somebody in. Like, we need another linebacker, like, now. I mean, there's guys out there. There's experienced guys, maybe declining a little bit, but like Anthony Barr is still out there, or like Dante Hightower still out there.
Oh.
They're not what they were a couple of years ago, but they're better than anything that we've got right now, like for that third linebacker spot. So, I think that if David Mayo is one of our three starting linebackers, we have failed this offseason. Nothing against David Mayo, but he's, been around a while and he's a special teamer. If he's your starting linebacker, you've got problems. And he's a good depth linebacker. Love him there. But as a starter, like, what's behind him if he goes down? They still need to address the position. Find somebody.
Yeah. What about you, Brian? Anybody stand out to you that needs to prove themselves?
Eric said the main one I think we're all looking at, which is Jamin Davis. That's the obvious one, so I won't spend a lot of time talking about him. But it is a little concerning hearing reports of David Mayo starting over him or getting first-team reps. I mean, all of those reps should be Jamin Davis. There shouldn't be any exception, but clearly the coaches see some exception to give David Mayo first-team reps. Not all of them, but he did get some of them. But really, we don't have anybody else to kind of look at to say, hey, I think this guy, a guy that the last couple of years who I would have thought would have gotten an opportunity by now is it Kaliki or is it Kalik Hudson?
Kaliki.
I can never.
The world may never know.
Right.
Depends on who you ask. Yeah.
Playing time. So, but he's a guy who literally played this Buffalo nickel position in college. Like, he has direct experience, kind of that strong safety linebacker hybrid role. So, I kind of thought he would be a guy who would have slid into that position naturally or just gotten some kind of playing time. I mean, he really got next to no playing time, special teams, maybe a handful of defensive snaps, but that's about it. And with this opening here at Buffalo nickel, with depth being an issue at linebacker, this should be a time where he can step up. I mean, who does he have in front of him? David Mayo, and a bunch of undrafted free agent linebackers. So this should be, a place where he shines. if he can even do it. So we'll see about that. But Eric's right. We don't have enough guys at linebacker. Like, we've got to bring somebody in. And I think, there are some veterans. Eric mentioned Dante Hightower. He is older, but he is highly intelligent. He has played in multiple defenses. You can't play for Bill Belichick and not know what to do. He knows exactly what to do in every situation and can get our guys lined up, and he'll actually know what they need to do on any given play as well, too. So, just something. We need another body there, more importantly.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what you said about Kaliki Hudson being a guy that had the most to prove amongst the linebacker group. And the reason I'm saying that is I don't know how many more years he has left on his contract after this season. So if it's ever gonna work out, it needs to be this offseason. I don't think he's shown enough in the NFL to get many other opportunities with other teams outside of special teams. So I think that if somebody has something to prove this camp, especially with Jamin Davis, being subbed in and out, then I think there's an opportunity for him. And if the door's cracked, you better blow your way through it, right? And make something of yourself. So you go look to all these guys, and that Jamin Davis stuff may just be experimental. Who knows? But if it's creating opportunities for someone else, then that someone else needs to take advantage of that. I want to start with Cole Holcomb. We talk about Cole Holcomb a lot on here, believe it or not. I think one of the main things that we say is, he's a little bit of a finesse linebacker, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. That's just kind of his game. He's not the John Bostic type that's going to go and blow things up, good, bad, or indifferent. He plays around things and he plays with speed. That's kind of his game. He has progressed quite a bit in his time in the NFL. Eric, what do you need to see from Cole Holcomb at camp this year?
Yeah, a leadership role. I mean, if they're really pushing him at middle linebacker, he needs to jump. He needs to just embrace that and run with it, and just be that guy barking out the orders, getting everybody lined up. Like, he may have done it some last year, but that's not really been his thing. So that's the next step in his progression. He is right now the best linebacker on this team, and I like him a lot. I've always kind of considered him more of a tackler than a hitter. So definitely the opposite of like a John Bostic. He's definitely not a thumper, but he's a very effective linebacker. He makes a lot of plays. He's always around the ball. So it's just the leadership aspect at this point. He needs to step up and take charge as that middle linebacker on the defense. If that's going to be his role, he's got to run with it.
Yeah, very well said. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, if he is going to play middle linebacker, he needs to show more of a kind of physical presence in the middle, a enforcer. Similar to, and I don't even want to say similar because Bostic had a lot of issues with him. But typically, that middle linebacker is a tone setter position, right? They set the standard for how that defense is going to play. And Ellie, you mentioned it. He is more of a run around blocks type of linebacker, right? He's not going to engage with that offensive lineman too much. He's going to try to run around him, finesse him a little bit to make the tackle. And he does make a lot of tackles. I think he had a combined 142 tackles on the year. So he gets lots of tackles. He is pretty fast, pretty athletic in there. But he only had 2 tackles for loss. And as a linebacker, I think, especially a middle linebacker, you've got to be able to kind of read those run plays and make some plays behind the line of scrimmage. Doing that kind of sets the tone for, how the game's going to go, right? Is that offense going to push you around, or are you going to dictate to the offense what happens? So I really am looking for him to kind of take that progression of being a little bit more of a physical presence, being more of a tone setter in the middle, making some more plays behind the line of scrimmage in the run game, that you may see from a traditional middle linebacker. So that's kind of what I want to see from him. But, he is very productive. He gets a lot of tackles. Typically, when he gets his hands on you, you will go down. So that's a good thing from him. And he's progressed. He's gotten a little bit better each year. So I think he will get better this year. And also, congratulations to him. I just saw on Twitter, I think he got married here this week or this weekend.
Yeah, absolute shout out to him and his wife. You guys said everything I think he needs to show. What I want to see is, are they even going to have a middle linebacker? They keep talking about this 5-2, and then we keep talking about he's going to play middle linebacker. I haven't heard Rivera come out and say that. I haven't heard any defensive coaches come out and say that. I just heard him say he wants to be that. But if he is that, then he definitely has to get more physical, which you guys already covered. But I mean, Cole Holcomb is absolutely our best linebacker right now, and certainly wishing him all the best at camp. We touched on Jamin Davis already. We know what he needs to get better at, basically everything. What about Kaliki Hudson, Eric? What do you want to see from him?
I want to see him have an effective year at special teams because I think that's where he's supposed to be playing. I just I don't see him making a big jump in his third year to suddenly be a starting quality linebacker when he's always been kind of a tweener, not big enough really to play linebacker, not fast enough to play safety. So he's just kind of there in like sub packages. Like that's kind of his role in the NFL. I just see it that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can have a 10-year career playing that role as long as you can do it effectively. And, special teams gives you a long career. But I just think that's what he is. I don't really, expect to see a lot of him on the defense this year because we haven't so far. And, even, there was no linebackers on the team last year at certain points, and he still wasn't getting on the field. So I don't see him making that jump this year. I could be wrong, but we'll see. But I think he's a special teams player. That's kind of his peak, his max.
Yeah, I tend to want to agree with you there. I mean, it's not traditional for players to come out of nowhere this late into their first rookie contract and start balling out. Brian, David Mayo. What do you want to get out of David Mayo at camp?
Nothing. I want him to be on the sideline and on the bench. I don't want to see David Mayo in a football game at all. If
he David dirty, man.
Well, his play does that by itself. If he comes to a game, we're not going to be very good. He's not a starting linebacker. I can't couch it any other way. He's not a starting level player. The fact that we're playing him speaks more to how bad our depth is at linebacker. We don't have anybody better than him. That our first round pick from a year ago is still struggling to get first team reps. So, and David Mayo's not like a 2 or 3 year player. He's been here a long time. He's fully developed. He's not getting any better or any worse for that matter. He should be just a special teamer, occasional, mop up duty. But he's probably going to get a lot of run here because the coaches like him and we don't have anybody else better. So hopefully he doesn't make too many mistakes. Hopefully he doesn't get exposed for, not being a top level athlete. That's about all I can say about David Mayo.
Yeah, I think he can give you good play in spurts, like in small doses. If he's not out there, he kind of reminds me, and it's not a perfect match, but like Will Compton, like. We all hated Will Compton, but it's not Will Compton's fault that he was an every down linebacker for us. Like he would have been fine, like in his specific role. He just got vaulted into a starting role that he just, or even like Reed Doughty back in the day was the same thing. It's like he was just, it's not his fault that he was always healthy enough to play when the other guys weren't, Yeah. So I think, that there's definitely a role for somebody like Mayo on the team. But as a starter, I think you're in a little bit of trouble if he's if he's getting a lot of reps, because I think then he does, like Brian said, open him up to getting exposed a little bit.
Yeah. I wanted to look up some stats and tell you that you were wrong about how bad he was because Doc Walker likes him, but he was a 42.9 PFF, and I can't justify that. To that point, Cole Holcomb was like a 58 or a 59, so we definitely need to improve there. All right. The only thing I'm going to add to the linebacker group that we talked about is I do think they're going to add somebody. I'm not saying it's going to be a starter. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be a middle linebacker, but I think they do add somebody off another team to come in and compete somewhere. So I want that to happen, before the last week of preseason, that we add somebody so we can get them integrated into what we do, even if it's just a depth signing. So we'll see what happens there. All right. The other guys are really, like I said, depth guys. People want to tell me about Trey Walker. I don't know anything about him. I don't know how high I'm going to get my hopes up for him or Drew White. They're going to have to show me something first before I jump off a cliff for one of those guys. Yeah. All right, let's look at our D-line. And we talked about this in terms of a little bit of disappointment last year. The one guy last year that wasn't disappointing was Jonathan Allen. Eric, I'm going to give you John Allen. What do you want to see from John Allen at camp?
Just continue what he, to build on what he did. Well, actually in camp, I don't want to see anything from him because he can just maybe keep him on ice until the season starts. Jonathan Allen's going to be ready to play. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be out there beasting out. And so hopefully we don't have to see a ton of him in the training or preseason games, especially, but through training camp, again, just stay healthy. get your reps in, and get ready for the beginning of the season, because I have no concerns about him being ready to play as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, you know what he is. You know what he's going to do. Let's not get cute and creative. Let's just more of the same. Get more of the same from him. Brian, Deron Payne. He's yours. What do you want to see?
I need to see a lot from Deron Payne. He's a number 14th overall pick, so it's really time to show it. He wants a contract, whether he wants it from the Commanders or if he wants it via free agency after this season when he leaves. He really needs to step up. I think he needs to be a little bit more consistent in the run game. I think his game, though, is more the penetrator, right? Shooting gaps, trying to get by some offensive linemen and make plays in the backfield, which sometimes can take him out of his rush lane, and he gets kind of washed downfield. But I need to see more consistency from him, because he'll make a couple of plays and then he'll go silent, and we won't hear about him for a couple of games. So more consistency from him, I think, is what we want, whether it's in the run game or in the pass game as well too. He really last season, the season before, in the pass game, there probably wasn't that much impact from him. He did have that good playoff game against the Bucks a couple of years ago. So he just needs to all around do a better job, and I think he will. He's in a contract year, so I think he's going to be really pressing to make a statement. So hopefully that bodes well for us, because he'll get a little bit more production out of himself.
There are times when Deron Payne looks like the best player on the field. I want to see him play at that level every single down. I mean, the man is enormous. He should be able to do that. Chase Young, just stay on the side field or stay in the medical tent or in the building or whatever you got to do at camp to get yourself healthy for the regular season. I don't want to see him anywhere near anybody moving that he could get bumped into or anything like that. Just come back healthy, come back strong. Eric, I'm going to give you Montez Sweat. What do we got to get out of this guy at camp?
Montez Sweat, just get back in shape, get ready to play. This is the he's going into his year 4. He's got that, they guaranteed his contract for next year, but he's starting to look ready. He's starting to look for that payday too. So I think he's going to have a big leap in stats this year. So preseason, just fine tune, play the first quarter, maybe sack somebody. I don't care. Just, come out of it healthy, get ready to play. Montez Sweat's going to have a monster year. I'm going to call it right now. He's going to have a huge year.
Let's go. I like that.
Ellie,
Brian, yeah.
Well, let's go back to Chase real quick. Are we in agreement, or do we all think, I think it's very possible he starts the year on PUP. Do we think he's going to?
100%.
Yeah, he got hurt.
I don't think he'll play. Yeah, I don't think he'll play before probably week 4 or 5, honestly.
Okay,
and
so
he shouldn't.
If he's on PUP, who's our starting defensive end opposite Montez Sweat?
Smith Williams.
Yeah, Smith Williams will be out there.
And we're going to get to him in a second. So you hold your horses.
Smith Williams, the gas face. Come on, man.
I got somebody better.
I saw the stink face.
I got somebody better than Smith Williams, but we'll talk about it in a second.
All right. Brian, talk to me about Phidarian Mathis. What do you got to see from this guy at training camp?
I think you're going to see a big space eater type of player who he'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to play starters type snaps right from the jump. Is he going to do anything in the pass game? Not really, but I think you're going to see somebody who comes in, adapts to the system quickly, and I think training camp you'll see him get a lot of play, because right now it's really just Allen, Payne, and Mathis right now. I think we've got Daniel Wise, who kind of can do both end and tackle. But Phidarian, you're going to see him come in and get a lot of the I think you'll see him lined up against with Allen and with Payne and let those take up blocks while those guys kind of do some of the penetrating. But I think you'll see some good things from him.
One of the things that the team had highlighted while they drafted him was scheme discipline, sort of the anti-Deron Payne and the anti-Chase Young, the freelancers. By the way, what a great wrestling duo name. Deron Payne and Chase Young could be the freelancers. Anyway, Phidarian Mathis, so I think what you're going to see from him at camp, or what you want to see from him, is him playing with that scheme discipline that they brought him here for, fit his gaps, play the run in a disciplined aspect. If he has any pass rush, let him keep his gaps and not let things break down around him. he's our second pick in the draft, right? So he's got to show a lot more than just competency at the position early in training camp, or I think fans are going to give him a really hard time. I want to see some disciplined aggressiveness. We talked about this guy, the backup for Chase Young, James Smith-Williams. Eric, training camp, what do you need to see?
Can he fill in admirably for Chase Young? I mean, is he going to come out and be like a, multi-sack game guy? Probably not. But if he can, set the edge, get a little bit of pressure with Payne and Allen and Mathis collapsing the pocket, if he can get some of those gimme sacks because they do that, go for it. If he's the guy, I'm not 100% sure he's the starter at defensive end. There's plenty of guys probably at his level that he's going to be fighting with to get that job. But yeah, if he can beat those guys out, I mean, I think he might have the inside track maybe, or, he's got as good a chance as any of those other guys to take that job. So yeah, it's just step up and do it. See what you can do.
For sure. And I think it's really establishing his position, as you said, Eric, within the team and within the depth chart in camp. And I think, going against first team tackles, was that Charles Leno, or Sam Cosmi, if he's healthy, in camp, he's really got to establish himself as a competent piece there. David Bada, just keep progressing, bro. Let's see what you can do.
He's the German guy, right?
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see him develop. Brian, I'm going to give you Casey Toohill. What do you want to see from him at training camp?
Casey Toohill. I think all of these defensive ends or these backup defensive ends that we have, they're all they're pretty standard and they're all pretty solid against the run. Smith-Williams, Toohill, Tony Brett. I want to see somebody develop some pass rush moves here, because outside of Chase Young and Montez Sweat at defensive end, it really is a huge drop off when it comes to pass rush. So Casey Toohill, I want to see some pass rush. I want to see these guys develop, a go-to move, a secondary move, something that they can get some separation off of that offensive tackle and make a play in the backfield, because, it was very clear once, Montez and Chase were out that there really wasn't anybody who was going to put pressure on the quarterback. Were they playing sound in the run game? Absolutely. I'll give them that. They were playing sound in the run game, but that was really about it. So we've got to see some pass rush moves out of these guys, Toohill in particular, because he will get playing time.
Yeah, I'd like to see Shaka Tony maybe a little I don't know if you were going to ask about him, but he seems like he might be like a pass rush specialist type. Like he would be the guy to bring in on 3rd and 9. If he can make it work. I know his athleticism wasn't the greatest coming out of Penn State, but he seems to be that smaller, hopefully Ben guy that can get around the edge. At 238, you better be able to, because you ain't stopping the run at defensive end. So
yeah, he had a sack and a half last year, and I was going to ask you about Shaka Tony, because I know. Look, last preseason, Eric told me Shaka Tony was going to be the man.
No, what I told you was, and I still think they should have done, was that they should have put him at strong side linebacker. Yeah, that's a spot for him at his size, with his like mobility, the way he can move. I thought that would be a better fit for him, but I'm not a talent evaluator. Maybe they tried it and it didn't work, but that's what I thought. I wasn't high on him as a defensive end. I think he's just too small.
Yeah, he's a linebacker size for sure. Daniel Wise, Brian, any thoughts on him or what you want to see or expect to get from this gentleman in training?
No, I don't expect to see much of anything with Daniel Wise. He's a, kind of hybrid tweener, defensive tackle, defensive end, but he is a break glass emergency in case of type of player. Like he really shouldn't see the field, but because we do have depth issues and guys who are injured and things like that, he may see the field pretty early this season. So just be sound. I want him to know what he's doing. He shouldn't be in the game and, be looking around like, hey, I thought that was your guy. No, these guys need to know what they're doing if they get in the game, but I can't really expect a whole lot from Daniel Wise.
Yeah, just solid play. I'm with you there.
Did we talk about Obata?
Man, you guys keep jumping me here. You keep jumping me here. Be
Yeah,
patient. I'm getting to that.
Brian wants to take Efe Obata.
Go ahead, Brian.
You
F.A.
can have
Obata.
him.
He's yours.
He's
Go
been
ahead.
chomping at the bit to get a hold of.
I think F.A. Obata, he's had 6 sacks in the past 2 years. Of course, he is a Carolina guy, so you know Rivera loves him. But he does seem to have some pass rush ability, and if Chase is going to be down for 4, 5, 6 games to start the season, you need somebody who can rush the passer. James Smith-Williams is a big, strong guy. He's solid against the run, but he doesn't really give you anything in terms of pass rush. So, I think it'd be nice to see somebody who has a little bit of juice coming off the edge, and I think Obata has a little bit. And it'd be nice to see somebody a little different than Hill and James Smith-Williams. So I think Obata may have something to start the year.
We'll see, because Lord knows you are excited about that, guys.
It's like his defensive version of Brian Robinson.
It
Yes.
is. Did he go to Alabama?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So Justin Hamilton and Tyler Clark are the other guys. Bummy Rotini we didn't get to, but I think those guys are depth guys. In terms of depth, Eric, based on what we just kind of went through, are you at all concerned with the depth on the defensive line?
No, not on the defensive line. I think there's plenty of guys you can plug in there and play on that. The linebacker depth is terrifying, but defensive line, I think, is going to end up being a pretty deep unit. I think they'll keep probably 6 guys, maybe 7 guys for the defensive line, and then also stash a couple on the practice squad because there's a ton of these guys out there. So yeah, I'm fine with the defensive line depth. It's just the linebacker that I'm concerned about greatly.
Okay, Brian, what about you? You concerned about the depth there?
I am. I think, we have a lot of bodies, but I don't know necessarily the quality of those bodies, right? Like, I think when you start to get down to the KC2 Hills, the Bunme Routines, and some of those guys, I mean, yes, they're healthy, they're there. But if they don't give you anything, right, if they're not able to produce some kind of way, I don't necessarily know by having them if it helps us. So it would be nice to see either Shaka Tony or William Bradley King. I think there were 2 7th-round picks for us last year, the year before, to see them develop a little bit more. I think we already know what Hill and Smith-Williams are, but I want to see more of William Bradley King and Tony and see what those guys can do. So hopefully those guys step up. And if they do, then I feel a little bit more comfortable about that depth.
Yeah. I'm okay with the depth. I mean, a lot of those guys got playing time last year for one reason or another. So, they can at least hang around in the NFL. So, until Chase gets healthy, I think we're doing okay there. From the linebacker perspective, that's that's a doozy right there, because I'm telling you, behind Holcomb and Davis and even Mayo, if you have to factor him in there, it's a lot of who, right behind, not Mr. Who, but just who is that dude, out there. So linebacker, again, I think they're going to address it, but as of right now, if we have one major injury, you might as well fold the 10 up on that group. So
You're playing 3 Buffalo nickels next year.
yes.
Do you guys think it's they're just waiting to get the Terry deal done and then they would go sign like a linebacker or trade for a linebacker or something like that? Or you think that's what's holding it up?
I don't know. Like, I mean, that makes sense, but I personally don't think so, because again, I don't think the Terry deal really affects the cap this year as much as it does going forward. I just think that they're just doing what they do and dragging their feet for whatever reason. I wish they would address it. Like I said, there's guys out there that can play. They may be looking at cuts from other teams once training camp hits, but come on. I mean, there's guys you can sign that can go out there and help and aren't going to cost a ton of money. They may be a little bit older. They may not give you a full season, but they'll be, good for the part of the season that you need them at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of guys still out there. Like, that linebacker market still hasn't really broken yet, to where, there's guys that could come in and play right now. I mean, Kwan Alexander's out there still. Danny Trevathan, I know he's a little bit older. Anthony Hitchens from Kansas City.
Yep.
Joe Schobert, 28, from Pittsburgh. AJ Johnson from Denver is still out there. So there's guys you could put on 1-year deals. And I think they will. I just think that, like, Eric said, they're waiting for guys to fall off of other teams to get cut. Some of these guys, for all we know, they could be speaking to, right? And they might offer a minimum contract. They don't want to take it, so they're waiting to see what their options are. Um, and a lot of times, guys that are this late in the free agency want to wait to see what happens in training camp to see who gets hurt, to maximize their value. But there are definitely some options out there, and as long as there's options out there, I feel okay. Eric, I know you mentioned Anthony Barr several times. He's 30. I don't know that I'd be that excited about him, but there are guys out there that they can reach out to. So
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I've always liked him. I know he's been injured a little bit, but his value is going to be down. And he's, better than David Mayo, I would hope.
yes. Yes. And not to crap on David Mayo, but it's a talent-based league, and we need more of it at a higher level for us to be effective this year. All right. Any other thoughts on the front seven going into training camp, Brian?
Let me ask you guys, with the front seven, do we consider the Buffalo nickel, since it plays so close to the line of scrimmage, as a part of the front seven? Should we talk about that, or are we going to talk about them in the secondary?
We're going to talk about it with the secondary, and it's a part-time position that I think it's just cool to say, so we kind of overinflate the value of that position. But yeah, we'll talk about that with the secondary, because it will be a secondary player playing that position.
And again, it became a thing last year because we didn't have any linebackers.
Right.
If we had linebackers, we wouldn't need that guy. Which, by the way, Landon Collins is still out there. You want to sign a linebacker?
No, sir. No, sir. Let's start over with somebody else. Eric, any other final thoughts on the front seven for training camp?
And I'm looking forward to it this year. There's going to be good competition, especially along that defensive line. I can't stress enough how terrified I am about going into the season with the linebacker core the way it is. So that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see them get after the quarterback in camp responsibly. Let's not take anybody to the ground. Let's not hurt Wentz or Howell or Heineke. Let's keep him.
Heineke's fair game.
Yeah. Put him in a normal color practice jersey, see what happens.
Yeah.
So I expect a lot from that group, but I think the one person with the most pressure in that group is the the defensive line coach, Sam Mills, right? And his unit was a unit that disappointed last year, and people said he's a big part of it. He's a big reason why they don't like his philosophy, they don't like his teaching style. Well, let's see if he's learned and he can adjust, and if he's figured it out, and he can get these guys ready to play. With respect to Sam Mills, real quick, Eric, do you think maybe some of the disconnect is because Sam Mills didn't play defensive line? I think he was predominantly a linebacker in his career.
I don't. Well, this is not the Sam Mills that was a linebacker. I think it's his son, because he passed away. But no, I don't. I don't buy into that a whole lot, just because a lot of guys didn't play. There's guys that didn't play football that are still good coaches. So I don't necessarily, you can certainly know a lot about the position, but it's just, what type of communicator are you? And does that style of communication mesh with the learning styles of the players you're coaching? And there may have been some disconnect there last year, and it honestly could be overblown. I mean, who really knows? We heard, rumors about issues with the defensive line coach. Obviously, Del Rio and Rivera, like him enough to keep him around. So maybe it's overblown, but I think, he is under some pressure this year, especially since his assistant defensive line coach is inviting Warren Sapp to hang out, maybe angling for a job. I don't know what's going on there, but moving forward, I definitely think Mills should be feeling pressure this year. I don't know if he is or not.
Yeah, I agree. He should be feeling pressure. He's got the guys essentially who have the most talent. But I mean, I think when you have these types of issues, I think it's always incumbent upon the coach to find another way to communicate with the players, right? Like the coach is supposed to be the leader, the adult in the room. Then if whatever he's doing isn't working and he sees that it's not working, right? We all see it. We all saw it every Sunday that it wasn't working. Then he's got to find another way, whether that is changing his teaching style, his delivery, Not even so much the actual techniques or the actual scheme that he's relaying to him, because that's probably not going to change, because that's probably something Del Rio and Rivera agree on and want to run. So that's probably not going to change. But he's got to find another way to relate to these guys and get them to buy into what he's telling them. So yeah, there's a lot that Sam Mills can do. And that he still can do to have a successful 2022 season. So hopefully he kind of figured that out these past 2 years, where there may have been some bumps in the road, and he's taken a different approach here this training camp and this season.
Yeah, you got to learn from what you do, and if he's going to be worth his weight in salt, he has to really figure that out. So looking forward to what this group's going to do as a whole. I think we are going to learn a lot about these gentlemen in training camp. And I think we are prepared to get some definitive answers about a few of the guys, Kaliki, Sam Mills III, the coach. Some of those guys, we're going to figure out if they're going to make it in this league or if they're not. And that's what I think I'm looking forward to most this camp. I think that's it, though. I think we'll be back next week. We will be back next week. We'll pick another position group, work our way through that, unless something major breaks out, some contract information or something that we have to discuss. But we'll pick up another group next week. Guys, ladies, everybody, if you're listening, I hope you're getting excited about camp. Smell it in the air. Football is here, and we will be here to cover it. Make sure you stay locked in, subscribe, stay honed in. Peace.